Welcome to Obstacle Running Adventures.
Another nice aspect that you guys change is the prize money changes as well. I believe there's been a decent increase in that, which has more elites drawn to it. Um, how are you feeling about that change?
That's a big move that we were thinking about last year, but we're like not 100% sure. So a lot of the stuff we do, we test it out first, right? Because we want to know, what's we don't want to overcommit to something that's going to be a failed action, right? We want to like figure it out, and then once we know what works and what doesn't work, we can kind of dial it in. And in this case, this is something we were already leaning towards last year, and we're like, you know, not 100% sure on this. Let's give it a year, figure it out. And this year, we're like, all right, full send. This is going to be some exciting stuff, and I think it'll make for definitely an exciting finish. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
And we're paying out to 5 places as well this year for the overall.
Yes, I like that a lot too. We talked a little bit before we started recording about how you don't pay attention too much to other race series out there, but looking at the numbers, the prize money's very, very close to Spartan at this point now, which is very interesting to see. So how does it feel like knowing that there's less of a gap there too? Like Goliath isn't so much Goliath anymore, I guess.
Well, it feels good because I like that I know in our brand, in our mission, we're like trying as hard as we possibly can to bring enjoyment and have people have fun. And I know Spartan has their own mission. I just want everybody to be successful. So I'm hoping that they're diminishing, like I know they're large, right?
Right.
So I don't want them to be diminishing stuff because of their like making their company smaller or something like that. Overall, I want the industry to grow and expand. So um, I want only what's best for them, right? So if they're making a decision based upon like, hey, we got to trim the fat a little bit, and this is going to allow us to be effective in the future, then I'm all for it.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, we're just going to be doing the best thing we can possibly do. Being able to expand the product is exciting because as an indirect result of them kind of lowering their prize money or changing their whatever's going on over there, we are getting some more high level pros over to our side that are
Yeah.
like, hey, they're bringing more excitement to what we have already, and more exposure. So that's just another chance to get ourselves out there and kind of show what we can do.
Absolutely. An aspect of Savage that's often discussed by people is difficulty, which it's a delicate balance, as I'm sure you know, doing your job. There were some complaints about the series being scaled down in difficulty compared to the regular events that you guys had throughout the season. It's something I specifically remember hearing from athletes like Miranda Huber. On the other side, people say that it's too hard, like you shouldn't have to lachey, the sport's not ready for that yet. How do you how do you go about balancing it?
Well, it's definitely a balancing act, that's for sure. If you make everything, you can kind of go one way or the other. I try to find something in the middle. So for the open waivers, specifically, what I'm looking for is I want people to come in who are not familiar or who are familiar and get to something and say, "Hey, there's no way I can do this." But then, whether they're inspired by their friends or they just dig deep within themselves, or they're just on a whim, just give it a shot, and they're able to not do it easily, but be able to succeed and hit that point where they're like, hey, there was no way I could do this, but I did it. And then have, that brings the confidence that they carry with them into the rest of their life. They go home and they're like, well, they have other challenges, and then they approach that challenge with more grit and confidence because they know, hey, I've met this level and I know that I can do this.
Yeah.
That's the experience I'm trying to bring to the open waivers.
Yeah. And on that note too, it's kind of like giving them that carrot too. Like if they don't get it this time, well, now they have a reason to come back. They have a way to measure their progress. Like I wasn't able to do Wheel World last time. This time I fucking crushed it. Like there's
Exactly.
that result too for the open waivers where it affects them too.
For the pros, for them, it's like they're more familiar with the obstacles typically, and they tend to be a little more athletic. So with them, it's like, what skill I want to expose what skill they're missing, right? How well rounded are you? Okay, so you're really good at running. Okay, well, can you handle grip strength stuff? Okay, so you can handle running and grip strength. Can you handle what's your salt strategy, right? Can you get to the end of the race and in the last half mile you do like a really crampy obstacle? You know, is that going to shut you down? Or do you know to, when you go through the water pit right before the rig, do you know to keep your hands out of the water? You know what I mean? So I'm looking for deeper level strategies to mix up with them, like to make sure they're thinking the whole time. And, you know, that it's not just one aspect or the other. It's, can you have the total package? And that's what's going to count, you know? And like, oh, well, you figured out the Lachey. Well, do you have this, you know, I got a couple of things in the back pocket, like new accessories and stuff. Like, do you have this new skill? Or like, do you have that new skill? You know, can you do a muscle up? Or do you know, even there's some technique to that? You know, so I'm trying to find things that they may be exposed to, but maybe haven't trained a whole lot.
Yeah.
You know, how's your mobility, that kind of stuff. So it's a little bit trickier with the pros because they tend to be really wide ranging, and but also a lot of them are really good at one thing and not so good at the other. So if I put like, you know, one or two obstacles of each movement or discipline type, I tend to be able to catch a few of them here and there.
Yeah, and it comes with its fair amount of stories. Like I can't think of which race it was, but I remember Lindsay Webster was stuck on, I believe it was the Savage Rig for a while, and up comes Amy Pagic, who is not the quickest runner, but is very good with obstacles with her ninja background. And I believe she took the win, or she was able to beat Lindsay, which is a massive, massive deal.